What's up, everybody? I'm Scott, joined by Shannon. We're your hosts of the BBQ Boardroom, the business behind barbecue. Shannon, how are we feeling about episode one?
Very excited because Chad Ward is here, Scotty. And I mean, I met Chad through you, obviously. I met all these people through you. But I am feeling very excited about Barbecue Boardroom as a whole. All the things we're going to get to explore, and Chad being so gracious as to be our first guest has me really fired up.
Well, we are fired up, and the goal with Barbecue Boardroom is sitting down with people that shape the world of barbecue. And obviously, for our very first episode, we got Chad Ward, founder of Whiskey Bent BBQ out of Lakeland, Florida. Has had a massive amount of success in the barbecue space, and had a very deep history of competing in barbecue. And we're fired up to have you here, Chad, and welcome to the Barbecue Boardroom.
Well, thank you so much, Scott and Shannon, and so honored to be the first guest. It's awesome being on the other side of the camera and being a guest instead of a host sometimes too. So appreciate you guys having me and looking forward to talking barbecue.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive in where it started. So, you had a finance degree, you were in corporate sales. What was the moment that you decided to walk away and go all in on barbecue?
I think it was about the time that we decided to start the store. So a little bit of backstory. I got into competition barbecue really just from wanting to hang out with my buddies. In college, we were, I lived with three other buddies of mine, and we just enjoyed hosting and cooking and doing those kind of things. And to me, fell in love with it there, just feeding people. And so when we graduated college and you actually got to start doing real world stuff and getting jobs and such, there just wasn't time to get everybody together and cook as much. And I was a software consultant, so I was traveling back and forth a bunch, traveling every week, and it just was a lot. When we got into the when we found competitions, and that was all because we just wanted to get together and cook and hang out. um it just kind of drew a passion in me, and I really enjoyed being around those folks. And then we started the store simply because here in Polk County, we're pretty old boy. It's pretty southern down here. We love the barbecue and those type of things, and we only had one barbecue store in town. And let's just say I didn't like their attitude. I just felt like people should be able to go somewhere. And
Let's call him out, Chad. Who is it? No, I'm kidding.
well, no, well, no, they're out of business now. We're the only barbecue store in Lakeland. But but it was just one of those places where I felt like a barbecue store, man. Scott, you've been here. It should be open, inviting. It should make people have that passion. So we opened the store. So was doing that, along with Nicole and two partners when we started. And that I was still working a corporate job, and I'm sitting there thinking, man, if I could ever pour myself fully into this, I think it would be something. So that thought was always in my mind. So that would be back. We started the store in, oh gosh, we have our 13-year anniversary coming up here. So quick math, we started that back in 13. So I would say around 13, 14, I started getting the hint of like this would be awesome to do as a career. And it wasn't until Traeger stepped into the picture that I actually went and started doing barbecue full time.
Got it. Maybe give us a little bit of background, right? Obviously, Traeger was a big piece on that. Was that
Sure.
the jumping in point of like, hey, I'm helping with Traeger, like, there's a path here. But again, I know a lot of entrepreneurs and people that start, it's not always clear, right? So with Traeger, you mentioned Traeger, maybe touch on that real quick.
Sure. So yeah, so what happened with Traeger was I saw that they had gotten acquired by Jeremy Andrews and a venture capital company, and I was familiar with venture capital because I did a lot of small startup and turnarounds in the software industry. So I was like, man, what about this? Like, and I loved the environment of startups and turnarounds and venture capital projects because they do have this rapid sense of urgency, and it just kind of feeds my personality. So I'm like, man, how amazing is this? Like venture capital is now into barbecue. This Traeger's always had like an interesting name, but that was a Pacific Northwest brand. I didn't know a lot about it down here, et cetera. So I just literally the most impactful blind email I've ever sent in my life, two of them. the first blind email that changed my life was this one, where I just literally sent in an email to info@traeger.com. Hey, saw you guys got acquired. I've got this barbecue store down here in Lakeland. Would love to talk to you guys. Hear what you're doing.
Simple and clean.
Simple and
Yeah.
clean.
Take the risk.
None of this. Let me tell you why your brand needs me. That all these influencers like to lead with now. No, this was a hey. I'm interested in hearing what you guys are doing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Not here's
Yeah.
why you need me, but hey, I'm interested in hearing what you guys doing, and then let me figure out if that fits with where I think we're going. And so, sure enough, like 2 days later, I get a call from a guy named Denny Bruce. Denny's kind of at the time at Traeger, so this is back. I've got my 10-year anniversary. So this is about 14. Yeah, probably about 13, 14. And so Denny Bruce called me up and goes, hey, I'm going to be in Florida next week, which he didn't have planned. They had just got my email. And so he comes down and I was like, so man, this was quick. Like, what happened? He goes, Chad, we were just in a meeting earlier that day where we were talking about we had bought a barbecue brand, but we didn't have a barbecue personality. So we got your message, and I had put on there, hey guys, I do a podcast called Whiskey Bent in the Pit. Check it out if you'd like to. And it just so happened to be on Tuesday nights. They got the email on Tuesday night. It's kind of intentional. I sent it the day before.
You're playing chess.
And they tuned in. And they were like, dude, like, we love, like, and I want to say they tuned in on a good night too. I think I had like Tuffy Stone and Myron mixing.
Yeah. Good
And
stuff.
this is back in the Pitmaster, barbecue Pitmaster days. So I mean, that's good gets. And
Yeah.
and they just saw, it's kind of the way I've always been, regardless of who it is, we're just sitting there chatting like friends for, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and that piqued their interest. And so then he came down, and he knows the way to my heart. He came down with a bottle of High West whiskey, and we sat and he talked about the vision of where him and Jeremy wanted to take Traeger, and I thought it was super cool, and at that time, Traeger was about a $90 million brand. So to me, with the pace that they wanted to move at, it just got me really excited. And one of the things, when I went in there, they already had one community person that was building out the outdoor community, gentleman by the name of Tyler Stark. Like, when you talk about influencer marketing, like, Tyler was amazing at it. And there's always been influencer marketing, right? Go back to the
Sure.
days of NASCAR. But
Yeah.
like social media influencer marketing, completely different, right? And so
Totally.
Tyler had put together this awesome program in outdoor, and so they wanted to replicate it in barbecue. So that's where I fit in. So
Got it.
Denny and I spent the whole day and evening together, had a great time. He's still a dear friend to this day and has went on to have all kinds of success himself. But that's where it all started. And then, I'll knock on wood, have my 10-year anniversary as an employee with Traeger here, July 14th.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I did about 2 years as a 1099, just doing like shows, conventions, going out to HQ, teaching classes, that kind of stuff. And then the last 10 years have been as an employee, and my official title, I think it's cool, the director of barbecue marketing. I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Did you
straightforward and
think
awesome.
it's so awesome? Do you think that you learn so it's interesting, right? Because the path, right? Whiskey Bent is its own brand, right? And
Hmm.
I would love to learn also, like, where did the name
Yeah,
come
that
from, right? Like,
that's a
why
good one.
Whiskey Bent? Like, that's a
Yeah.
great name. And then, you've come a long way, right? Since I have a store, it's like, so when you talk about Whiskey Bent as a brand, right? Because I would imagine on this Traeger journey, you also, you know, influencers were one thing, but you are a creator and entrepreneur. You have all of these different angles to what you're doing in barbecue. Like, how do all of those coalesce around what was that kind of original ethos and origin story of Whiskey Bent?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And so really the name and kind of where it started was that passion for cooking and being around friends. And I feel like to this day it's still that ethos. And when I'm trying to figure out, is this the right move for the brand? Is it not? And me and Nicole are talking about those things. To me, that's what it comes back to. Is it that core value of gathering people together, having a good time, building fellowship, and building out your true tribe. And it just so happens y'all all like barbecue. Or
Yeah.
barbecue is what brings everybody together.
Yeah.
But the name came from me and, Jared Hatcher. So Jared co-founded the team with me, was also one of the partners initially in the store, still one of my best friends, just a great guy. We were sitting around and we kicked around that we were gonna how do we get the crew together? And barbecue competitions, there's one here, you guys have been, Lakeland Pig Festival.
Yeah.
And, that's just if you grow up in Polk County, you go to Pig Fest. And so we had been a couple of times, and at that age, it was more just drinking, hanging out with, your buddies who had dads cooking in it. You know what I mean? Like, so
Totally.
we were that, or guys that my dad worked with at Publix that had teams or whatever. But like it was always in the back of my mind, oh, these barbecue competitions are pretty cool. And so me and Jared were talking about how do we get the band back together, the college band that we used to cook on the weekends. Man, what about barbecue competitions? Yeah, that sounds awesome. And Jared's grandfather had just passed, and he's like, "Well, my grandfather left me this barbecue smoker. Well, we still got it to this day, but it's this humongous, like this is the church.
Yeah.
Like you cooking,
Do you call it the
$60 for a
church?
church outing.
Does it have a nickname? Is it called the church?
No, it doesn't. We never gave it a nickname. But that thing, we got it, and we went and we were like, okay, we're gonna do our first competition, and that was in 2007. And I was like, well, we can't do Lakeland first. Like, I don't want to get embarrassed in our hometown. Um, so we picked this contest in August of 2007. That was at the Silver Spurs Arena in Kissimmee, and we are like, that's it. That's where we're gonna go. And mind you, there's no barbecue information on the internet. So we are truly just these backyard dude's gonna go in competition barbecue.
Yeah.
Well, now we need a name. So we're sitting around, it's Saturday night, we've had some cocktails, we're into this thing, like we're gonna go set the world
Best
on
time to
fire.
get creative right there.
Set the world
Yes,
up.
sir. Yes. And we were listening to 97 Country, it's a little country station based
Love
out of
that.
Lakeland here. And it
Yeah.
was Country Gold. We were it was Country Gold Saturday night was playing, and Whiskey Bent and Hellbound came on.
Uh,
And they got about the first verse, and I looked at Jared and I said, why don't we drop the Hellbound so we can do church caterings and we'll call ourselves Whiskey Bent BBQ."
so
And it
smart. You
just
were
stuck.
thinking ahead. No,
Yep.
got to have the church catering.
Little known fact is we probably about 5 years in, we got hit with a cease and desist from Jack Daniels because, we went all out with the initial logo and we had some dude locally draw it for like $150.
Yeah.
And the scrolls on the outside of our logo, they said knocked their copyright or their trademark. So they came after little old Whiskey Bent. I think that year we had maybe about $175 in t-shirt sales at 3 contests. But but it was funny. It was worth it. It was worth it to get to post the letter on Facebook way back many ages ago.
Yeah. Well, you must have been
Yeah,
flattered, right? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
I
look,
was.
you're paying
And I was
attention.
they're
and I
paying
was still
attention.
working. I'll never forget. I was still working my day job, and I'm at a huge trade show at the Javits Center called NRF, National
Yeah.
Retail Federation, or
Yeah.
it's
The
a big
NRF.
retailer
Big one.
conference.
Big one.
Yeah, huge.
Yeah.
And literally, I'll never forget. We're just like booth closed at like 4 o'clock. So gathering your stuff, 4:15 phone rings. I'm like, and it's a New York City number. It's the lawyers for Brown Foreman, of course. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I left something in my room, or so I pick it up and they're like, is this Michael Ward? I'm like, shit, you ain't my mom. If you call me Michael, it must be something important.
That's your
And
hey, that's your government name, man.
exactly. So sure
It's
enough, that
hilarious.
they were like, yeah, we're calling about, and I started laughing. And I'm like, dude, which one of my buddies has like had you guys call and mess with me, whatever? And they're like, no, like we're serious. Da, da, da. And I'm like, okay, and it ended up being a hill of beans and nothing. It was like, okay.
Sure.
And actually, I look at it as it was so at that point, because literally it was just friends getting together cooking. It was a cartoony logo. Like, I didn't plan on it becoming a brand.
Yeah.
But when they say you got to discontinue this logo, we did have the discussion of, well, if we're gonna do a new logo, like, why don't we do something that would look good on a sign or would look good on a
Yeah.
storefront, or and so that was where we ended up with. I think we're on about our third or fourth iteration now of logos, but it was one of those that you know didn't know we were setting ourselves up for the future, but we were setting ourselves up for the future.
Random, but on the topic of logos, right? Obviously, you're involved in helping Shannon and I put together, everything with the BBQ World Cup and Barbecue United. Right. I think founders get very focused on, when you're creating something where they'll spend months and months and months on a logo. And I think it's an important thing to touch on is, you know, was that something you just picked something and rolled with it and then you iterate over time? Was there a lot of thought put into, that initial phase of the logo?
Well, to me, I used way back in its early day Fiverr.
Oh,
And
yeah.
to me, I didn't I wanted a lot of different opinions. I wanted just to feel like sometimes as founders and operators and creators, we get in our own kind of highway of thinking. So I've always been one about wanting to surround myself with people that don't think like me, that think differently, so that we can compare and contrast, and we can get stronger. And so for me, I went that way, and then when I got it narrowed down to, so I think when we got it narrowed down to 5, we put it out to the community. We went on Facebook and said, "Hey, what do you guys think? What best, lended itself to Whiskey Bent?" Because at the end of the day, that's who you're trying to approach, right? I mean, if you want to stop the
Yep.
scroll, whether it be content, logos, whatever's brand connected, you want it to resonate with the community. So to me, hey, this is something that I feel like represents us. Now let's see what resonates with the people that we're trying to touch and reach.
Yeah, smart.
And,
Yeah.
And,
and I think it's good too. It's kind of, me and a couple other barbecue guys have talked about it. Me and Matt Pittman talk a lot about brand stuff at Meat Church, and he does an
Yeah.
amazing job with it. And it's like you want to have that anchor that everybody comes back to, but you also want to have, to me, 3 or 5 other visual cues that bring you right back to the brand. And those take different times to connect and bring back. But to me, you have that one anchor that people come to, that they go, when I see that, I know that's Whiskey Bent, or that's whoever. But then you start having these, secondary logos that also tie back. It helps you on the merch front. It helps you to where in my opinion, you still have something that people recognize, but you're not beating them over the head with the same thing every time. Because if you think about it, it's on every piece of your branding.
Yeah. It's like a surround sound, right? Like
Mhm.
how do I keep people coming back? Which is interesting, right? Because now you have, I mean, how many you're in, I think, are you in 400 retailers
Yeah, I
or
think we're
more?
closer to 500. We just closed another account today or yesterday.
Yeah.
So another 60 store chain. So I think now that puts us right around 500. And a big part of that's Academy.
Yeah.
And that's another great example, on a business side, of just how things morph. First off, on Academy, I can take literally no credit for that. I have to give credit to Nicole, my partner in the business. She's handled that from day one. Matt Pittman gave us the introduction there to the buyers, and
And
Nicole
can
has
you
ran.
just say for the people that are listening, what is Academy? So just so
Yeah,
that
so
people
Academy
know.
Sports, big retailer, about 280 stores. To me, they're a great fit for Whiskey Bent as a brand,
Yeah.
because it's all the things that we enjoy and who we try to serve. Yeah, you've got Guns and Ammo there, which we do a great trade, and I think we're one of the few brands that, and you'll see more of it this year, that are actually focused on putting out seasonings, marinades, those type of things for
Okay.
the outdoorsman, for the hunter. From more of a traditional barbecue company. You'll see more of that. They've got a lot of the team sports athletics. So if you've got a kid, so just a great sports
Yeah.
store with an outdoor feel
Got
too,
it.
which I think
Yeah.
makes them a really good partner for us.
Yeah.
But as and we built out that relationship, and Nicole led it, they're like, hey, we've got other, barbecue brands we'd like to bring in, but setting up, if you want to try 1 or 2 SKUs, if you've never worked in retail before, setting up a vendor for 1 or 2 SKUs is like pulling teeth, especially nowadays with all the insurance and liabilities and paperwork. And there's a true cost to setting up a vendor. So we've been fortunate enough to be one of those that works with Academy, that helps them also with other brands bringing into, which is great as a retailer. So, for our little store here in Lakeland, it's great to be working with a nationwide retailer, just to see what trends are they seeing,
Sure.
what's moving in their stores, what are they wanting us to, help them source and expand their line on, and what's going well with that. So to me, once again, that's something where you get into an account, you prove yourself, you prove your worth, and you get more opportunities, whether that be more shelf facings for yourself, or the opportunity to bring in other products to assist them. So they've been a great retailer. But at the same time, man, I love the mom and pops. I was just on the phone with my buddy Jeremy Ole at Simpson Ace there in South Carolina. And those guys, he likes to call and brag and tell me he's moving more of his stuff in my store than I am in my store, which, and anybody that is doing that, you can call up and brag about that anytime. I'm super proud of you, and I'll keep shipping you stuff, I promise. Um, but to me, I like having that mix, of a big chain. And one thing we've been very, very cautious with is we're trying to build a legacy brand here. It is real easy to go into grocery stores really quick and do a pump and dump of revenue and churn and those type of things. This is a brand that I hope goes on way past my time. So we look at it a little bit different. We protect it a little bit different. We don't want to bastardize the name. We want to keep a craft feel to what we do. That's why we opened our own manufacturing facility. So a lot of intentional things of why we haven't went to the biggest chains right off the bat. I really think building things organically and finding places where you have a relationship is going to be best in the long run.
One quick hit, if you were giving advice to somebody who was just getting into like, oh, I want to create my own rub, my own sauce, my own seasoning, right? What's one quick piece of advice you'd give them?
Understand the market, understand whatever's already out there. To me, I think it's great when people have that desire, but you have to be real with yourself and understand you're about to invest real dollars in building something. You need to be able to see an ROI. So, what are you going against? If you don't understand what else is out there and how you need to position yourself to be successful, I think that's the first thing you got to do before, and then that helps you gauge your level of investment, right? If you've got some whiz zinger flavor and you think it's going to be great and it's kind of trending, well, maybe you put a little bit more money into it to get it started. But if you're going into something that there's already some things out there, you just think yours is better, probably going to be a little longer road for you. So I think just being real with yourself, understanding what you have and what it'll be going against, and then how to attack it. But I say all that to also say believe in yourself. Mountains can be moved. You can do incredible stuff. You just got to make it a priority.
Love
Yeah.
it. So your career's obviously put you in some rooms most people in barbecue, never get to see. Cooking at the Masters at James Brown Estate, Dan Patrick, Ken Griffey. What moment from, your career, stands out as and it doesn't feel real still to this day?
I would say all the stuff with Griffey is pretty interesting because just it was that's a guy that 1989 Upper Deck, man, like he was the dude. Like that was just who you collected, and what I've gotten to do with him, and we did the Masters event last year at the James Brown House, but even if you go back to like when we had initially met, I've always been 1 hour timeline with VIP grill deliveries. So like all my food's prepped, it's all seasoned, like grills built, grills burnt in. We show up, we install it where they wanted it installed at. We fire that baby up, show them it works, and then we start to cooking. And I'm hustling like that. Probably the first 20 minutes I'm at Ken's house, and it kind of stops, and he goes, "Hey man, like, are you in a hurry? You got somewhere to be?" And I'm like, "Man, I just try to keep them within an hour, sir. That's what I told you we'd be here for." Days like, man, I told my wife, I gave my wife a grip of money, told her to go shopping. Like, I thought the boys were just gonna hang out and cook today. And I'm like, "Oh, you serious?" He's like, "Yep." I went, "Let's go ahead and throttle this baby down and back into neutral. I can take this thing out of fifth real quick."
I
And my fifth
it
is most people's fourth, so we're
and
all
Awesome.
right.
and Ken,
But
I sent you that link, on Instagram of, Griffey's speech, and I think it's one of the most incredible speeches, retirement speeches where, he gets to, the last piece and Buhner and like, I mean, it gives me chills. But anyway, sorry. Like I know I sent that to you, so I could imagine that like that's a special, moment, special person, that you're connected with.
and just a super, like, meaningful guy for a guy that's, like, so recognized and so, quick s one thing that makes the relationship special is, like, during COVID, Florida, we weren't too locked up, so, he wanted to do a class with all of his golf buddies, a barbecue class. So we did it at my store on a Sunday, we were closed, and, it was cool, it was cool to watch, like, the guys that he hangs out with daily, which aren't anybody famous, one of them's a graphic designer at Disney, guys with all kinds of different walks of life. But, man, the way they gave him hell, like, "Oh, man, there may be an opportunity me and Kim become friends enough, I can give him hell." We've reached that point, it's fun. But when we got done with the class, he's a big, he loves Porsche GT3s. He's got, like, I'm pretty sure every one of them they've made. And so he drove one of them over, and my guy that helps us a lot, buddy that works here named Chris Farina. Chris went to grab the keys, like, "Oh, you gonna let me take that thing for a ride?" Ken's like, "Oh, if you want to take it, dude, grab them like you mean it." And so Chris grabs the keys, and him and Julie, my girlfriend, take off in GT3. So Chris was taking to the fire station, showing all of his buddies. He's like, "Well, my car's gone, and my dad's there with us." He came at the end, him and my mom and my niece to eat dinner with us after the class. And he's like, "Mr. Ward," he's like, "Chad told me you coached him your whole life. You got to have some baseball questions for me." So to sit there and know that I facilitated my dad and Griffey
Oh,
sitting down
that's cool.
and having this cool 30-minute conversation in my store, like, to me, that was just one of those moments where I'm like, "Damn, man, this is cool." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the funny part of that story, my dad always was not a huge fan of Ken because he wore his hat backwards. And dad just like every other Southern guy in the world
Traditionalist.
Yeah.
just thought, "Man, he's disrespecting the game. Why's it gotta be like that?" And so I know the story behind it. So I let dad ask 1 or 2 questions, and I said, "Hey, Ken, do me a favor and tell my dad why you wore your hat backwards." He said, "Oh, Mr. Ward, you gotta understand." He's like, "I was a clubhouse kid, dad's playing for the Big Red Machine." He's like, "Remember dad had this huge afro?" But dad's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I get it. Yeah, he did." He goes, "I would always wanna wear his hat to go shag, fly balls during batting practice." He said, "What's the only way that hat's gonna fit my head?" He said, "If I," he goes, "'Cause so if you ever watch," he goes, "when I turn it around, the bill's usually down." He goes, "'Cause that's the way I had to wear it as a kid." He said, "So as I grew up, I just always wore my hat backwards as a nod to my dad."
Oh, so
My dad
sweet.
felt that tall after he got done saying that.
Oh,
But I but I'll tell you, my dad kinda leaned back in his chair and goes, "Well, young man, I owe you an apology."
aw.
It,
Way to
it,
go,
it,
Dad.
yeah,
And
but it's
sure gave it
amazing
to
how
him.
long those things, you right, you have these narratives and things about people, and then once you talk to somebody, it's like, oh my goodness, like there's context
Yes.
behind why you would do something. So incredible.
Yeah,
Love that.
that's a fun part of it.
Well, also, it's like kind of what you said, right? It's about building your legacy. You're building legacy while you're still alive, right? Even that
Sure.
moment with your dad in that moment is like very powerful, and Ken, and challenging assumptions, and like bringing humanity. Like it's so lovely and wonderful.
No,
Okay, so
it's fun, and I feel like just barbecue has
yeah,
that ability, and I'm not trying to sound corny, but I really do. I feel like, I've had so many great discussions around a platter of barbecue with folks that I would have never been in the same room with, whether it be from an economical just people you usually wouldn't break bread with, barbecue brings together, and I think it's just a huge power of it.
I think, I mean, it's one of the things that I've, noticed so much, right? Coming kind of into this, right? I came in because actually, this is our anniversary, Scott.
Yeah, it is. You're
We had
100%
a
right.
meeting at the Masters about this, which was funny is everyone heard about the event that you were doing. I heard about it. I was like,
Cool.
and I was out there and people were like, "Oh my God, it's like the most amazing thing. Like it's the hardest ticket to get, like blah, blah, blah." It was so funny. And then Scott and I had our meeting we had a meeting about this at the Masters. And I'm like, "I want to come do this with you. It's so awesome." So
Yes.
here we are a year later.
Yes, we are. Yes, we
um,
are, and what we're, and I don't wanna change but I mean, and I think what we're doing
yeah,
overall with, you know, Barbecue World Cup and Barbecue United, I mean, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, and it's finally, because for me, I feel like barbecue hasn't gotten it to do, as much as it should have, and there's so many talented people, and you guys have got to see them. Not even talking about the competitors, but just looking at our competition committee, folks that
yeah.
are helping us build this. I mean, there's some really special, talented folks out there that I just feel like need a little more spotlight on.
Yeah, a little uplifting for all of that's the idea, right? Uplift,
Absolutely.
empower the whole community. So somebody listening to this who wants to go create a sauce or had a dream about a store or wants to compete for the first time in the pro division, like go get it, right?
Yeah,
Get after it.
absolutely.
Send the email, do the thing, right? Like those are the things that like push you over the fear of doing something, right? So this is amazing, and I think for you, right, we wanna know what's next for Chad Ward, like, what are you excited about? What are you getting after these days?
I'm really excited, from a whiskey bent point of view. I'm really excited about We have some collabs coming up that I think are going to be super cool. So we're doing, um, I mean, we've done some smaller collabs in the past with on seasonings and such, but I'm really excited about the three we've kind of got earmarked for this year. We've got two seasonings we're going to do with Brantley Gilbert, which me and Brantley met years ago, country singer. And he's just another one that, a lot of these guys, when you get to meet him, you just realize you have a lot of the same core values.
Yeah.
And I just love his, stance on family and being a great American and some of the things that he stands for. And so we're going to do a barbecue seasoning and a bold seasoning. The bold's going to be, actually, I've got it here. I'm flying up to Nashville to
Ooh.
do an event
First look,
tomorrow, and
everybody. First look.
First look.
we're finalizing it tomorrow, Friday. So
Well,
so I'm
and
excited about
maybe just
that.
to let everybody know, so Chad has a co-packing business, so,
Yes.
are you open for business if anybody has a sauce seasoning?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
yes. If you're looking to do a sauce, a seasoning, jams, anything that we can run through some filler lines, we'd love to chat with you. And that's actually under Imperial Polk Bottling is the name of that business. But that's our full scale line here. So we're on the collabs, we're doing the two with Brantley, so it'll be a Whiskey Bent and Brantley Gilbert collaboration on both of those. We're doing one with Mr. Griffey that's been in the works, and we're
Cool.
finally we're trying to get all the details laid out, but we're going to try to do it around All-Star break. So hopefully trying to work on some cool things like how rad would it be if you pre-ordered a seasoning that got you into a 1989 Upper Deck break,
Oh, fun.
where
Yeah.
potentially if we pulled a Griffey that was assigned to your name, he would sign it for you right there live and ship it to you. So we're trying to do some fun stuff. Also,
That's
I love
fun.
the crossover of that too between baseball and
collectibles.
barbecue and
Yeah.
memorabilia collectors and stuff like that. So that to me is what's exciting is when we can take the multiple things that me and our brand are passionate about and be able to, share that with others. And then we're working on I've still got to finalize it, but we've had the discussions and I think it's going to happen with Justin Herbert doing a collaborative.
Go
He's
Ducks.
very yeah, Justin's so big on giving back to youth sports programs. I've done his golf tournament several years. So talking about doing something to where we can do a collaborative seasoning and then that money go back to the youth sports that he likes supporting. So
That's
those are all
awesome.
things that I'm excited about, and just the co-packing ability. Nicole and Jim handle it, the majority of that. And, just talking with them every day and the new folks that are coming in and interested in us bottling their stuff, it's awesome. And then just on the barbecue front, continue to watch the growth. It's interesting because, one thing, if you look at where we're going kind of economically, with gas prices, this and that, a little bit of uncertainty out there. One thing that got through the last recession in '07, '08, you didn't see much of a hit in the barbecue world. I,
Mm.
I I feel like it's one that kind of perseveres through because when
Recession
people do
proof.
have to trade down, they're trading out
Yeah.
of white tablecloth dinners, those type of things, but they trade more into still eating upscale, but at
Yeah.
home
At
are
home.
going to more humble places like you would like a barbecue joint.
Yeah.
So just curious to see kind of with the world out there, I think barbecue is still going to shine through pretty strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, that's a hot topic right there, barbecue being recession proof.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always hate to say recession proof, but it definitely seems
Resistant.
to, yeah. I mean, the only
Recession
thing that gets
resistant.
concerning there is just meat prices, right? I just priced out brisket for this event Friday, and it's like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah.
used to pay I used to pay that for freaking standing rib roast, not brisket.
Well, hey, but I mean, this goes to I think the start of really barbecue, right, is taking low qualities of meat and creating something special out of them, right? So, you have your high end quality, but to your point, when these times hit and you have to buy something that's maybe a little less, choice or some of these other lower quality cuts, right, creating something special for your family
For
and
sure.
friends, like. Right, I think that's where, you cut your teeth on, really being able to be a great cook, pit master is taking those pieces and turning them into something special.
Agree, and I think that's what you'll find more of too, is people are gonna start going to cuts that aren't as well known, that are a little more economical, and getting creative with how do you push flavor to them, and how do you, make it still a tasty experience, but on a dime instead of a dollar.
That sounds fun. Let's figure that
Yeah,
out.
For sure.
Maybe I'll get good at barbecue.
Hey, it can happen.
No promises. I probably will be running the event, not competing.
Well, hey,
We all have our strengths.
speaking of first time barbecuers, right? I know Shannon's got a fun final question for you, but the last one that I was going to ask is: you've taught thousands of people, right? Cooking classes, competitions, right? You've been involved in kind of all gamuts of barbecue. Somebody who's just barbecuing for the first time or getting into competition, whatever it may be, but like, what's one quick soundbite or one quick pro tip, for anybody that's barbecuing that you're like, hey, pay attention to this or do this or buy this?
Yep. To me, the easiest one is time as a guideline. So many people when they reach out and they ask, how long is this brisket going to take? Man, I can give you the guideline, but what you really need to do is you need to have a good instant read thermometer or a good leave-in thermometer, and that's what you need to go by to get started.
Any
And let the
recommendations on
temperature.
thermometers?
Yep, every animal's lived a different life, so the marbling's always different. All those things are different. So a good leave-in thermometer that lets you progress it through the cook, or a good instant read where you can stay on top of it. And what I'll say there is when you do get the temperature that you're looking for, pay attention to what that feels like. Because as you add on more and more and more and more reps, then you're actually cooking to feel instead of temp. So don't be a slave to the recipe or the
Mm,
timeline. Use it as a guide. And always remember too, with bigger cuts, you can let them rest longer. So, if it's a brisket or a pork butt, something like that, and you've got a large amount of people coming over, it doesn't hurt you to get that thing done early and give it a proper rest. So to me, let time be your guide, but temperature calls the shot.
love that. Listen here, people.
Yeah. Well,
Is it mean like
I
when I do this thing, for the steak?
Yes, that's the feel.
yeah,
That's my
I've ruined,
rudimentary.
my family and friends are kind, but I've ruined, two or three briskets. Again, being around you guys and some of these pit masters that are elite, it's like, it's very humbling because, one of the things I always laugh at is, in one of the first videos that we created for BBQ World Cup, and it was like one of the sound bites was pitmasters will sit back, will give you the entire recipe, and then they'll sit back and laugh and say good luck, because to your point, I've done this, I've ran it
Hmm.
exactly how I've been told, and it'll come out dry, and
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out, and it is a lot more complicated. So great tip. I'm definitely going to try that.
Love it. Pro hack.
Yes, sir.
We like to call that pro hack. Okay. So, final question, chat. And I actually collapsed two questions into one question because that's how I roll, which is all right, you're walking out because you won the $1 million prize at BBQ World Cup. And there's a walkout song that you get to choose. And then how are you going to spend the money?
Well, I got to think right now if I'm going walkout song, it would. Do I go there? Do I think I'm going to go something to talk about Co-Wetzel?
Fun. Okay.
Co's now moved number one on my list of people to cook for since I got to cook for Post like a year and a half ago, and me and Austin have stayed in touch. Uh, Co's next on my list. I just think he'd be a real good time, and even though he's settled down a touch, we both have. Mm. And then, what would I do with the million? I think the first thing would be a nice long vacation wherever the hell we want to go.
That's a good
You
one.
know,
That's a
I
good
think
one.
Julie'd be all set for that too. So, but yeah, no, I think something like that. And then honestly, and I know it's not the coolest answer in the world, it'd be a vacation and then reinvesting it back in the business. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why not take 1 million and try to grow it into 5 million? Under your own name.
I love that.
That's the
Yeah.
business behind barbecue, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Putting it back in and growing it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And
Awesome.
Scott and I'll
Well,
be available to come with you on vacation if you need it.
okay, you know what? There's nothing wrong. Appreciate you offering those services, Shannon.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awfully kind of you.
Really
Scott,
Hey,
you too?
generous.
we'll and
Generous
we'll
of
and,
spirit.
and we'll cook a half-ass brisket for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll also cook
Hey,
really
still
poorly.
tastes better
It's
than mine.
fine.
I didn't have to do nothing.
It's fine. It's fine. Well, we really appreciate you coming on, Chad. You are again our very first guest on Barbecue Boardroom, but I learned a ton, which was awesome as well. And always love seeing you as a person. And for anyone wanting to get into barbecue to better understand the business of barbecue, check out Whiskey Bent. Check out Chad. Can't wait for the collabs. Very excited.
Yes,
Um,
we
you're
are
the
too, and thank
best.
you guys so much for having us on. And I think for the first episode, I'm looking forward to watching all the ones after. I think they're going to be great, and more people talking about the business of barbecue is a great thing. And there's such a list of really, really great barbecue entrepreneurs out there.
Yep.
So I think by episode 10, 12, you're going to have so much information out there that I think people are really going to enjoy and harness. So thank you guys for doing it.
We hope so. And everyone can find Chad and Whiskey Bent on all the socials. So go follow them, go continue to learn, grow your business, grow your craft, spend the time. That is time well spent, I would say.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you very much.
100%,
We appreciate it.
and reach out, right? I the great thing about the barbecue community is people are willing to give back and help share their knowledge, right? So, if you're going down that road to build out a sauce seasoning, whatever it may be, right?
Yep.
Reach out to people that have done it, reach out to people that have the knowledge, right? That can help provide shortcuts for you. So,
Well, and there's so many just basic questions out there when you're getting started. So feel free. We're a resource. There's 100 different ways to reach out to us. I'm still one of those guys that I post all my own social stuff, answer all my DMs, all that stuff. So
slide
yeah,
it in the
feel free to reach out
DMs.
anytime. Always.
Slide into Chad's DMs, everybody.
But yeah, anytime we love sharing and helping and doing whatever we can.
That's
All right.
awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for joining us, Chad, and excited for everything you got coming out.
So well, thank you guys for all the support, and we'll see y'all soon.
See y'all soon.